Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is Dicking Around with DeVito. I'm sitting down with the lost member of Quadacity, and it's been some times that I want you to come and talk and chat with me, but I'm sitting here with my buddy Nick.
What up, what up?
Just want to see what you've been up to, man.
Yeah, I mean, life is as they say, a beautiful struggle. So, I mean,
For sure.
I've had a lot going on, moving, work, trying to stay focused, saving, trying to get out of my parents.
Just doing your thing.
Yeah.
That's how you have to do it, and you have to respect that at a certain level. And would that be like one of the reasons why you dropped out of our podcast?
In what sense?
And we had everything started. We set it up with 4 people. It's in our name. It's in our, it's in our brand. We did a couple episodes. Thought they were great. We did a nice little mock-up, which was fucking hilarious. And then you just kind of like didn't feel like you were into it anymore. Like, would that be the transition from you just having more going on in your personal life and just made more sense?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we kind of touched on a little bit of it previously before we started, got on the air. And I mean, yeah, I mean, there really isn't any other way to look at it. There's a lot of times where it's like, I have to figure out what I'm doing next before I really like.
Before you set it in stone and move forward?
Yeah, because I mean, I really do. I miss hanging out with you guys.
We do too, man.
Dude, it's so hard to explain. I mean, like, there was a lot of, I don't know, confusion going on to the where, not necessarily with you guys, but like, yeah, personal reasons. My focus was in a lot of other places, and I was trying to multitask a lot of different things, and it was like, this is, then
you're just stuck with a juggling act of...
Yeah, trying to balance everything, and it's just not balancing right. And before I can really make a commitment to different things, I like to be confident enough that, this is something that I can do.
Right.
And expectations on many different levels are a pain in the dick for everybody, and everyone's own personal reasons. And society sets a standard, and then you have your own personal life, your friends, family, your loved ones. I don't know exactly how it all correlates, but in retrospect, I mean, there were some things at the beginning, expectations that, I wanted to fulfill and meet, but weren't aware in, my own personal life. And then also on the show that I was a little confused in the sense of like,
what it was going to be.
What's exactly expected of me. And then everyone's roles, I didn't want to jump into anything in the sense of like, I'll lead if you need me to lead, but not everybody's going to agree with the way that you lead.
Right. So it was more uncertainty of what you could produce. Is that what it?
I mean, yeah, I guess in some ways, but at the same time, I mean,
I like that because we push the boundaries, and it's trying to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh well, and yeah. I mean, that's the way you kind of want to live your life when it comes to opportunities and succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's fine, but we've all been friends for like a really long time, and like, I don't know if everybody's aware. Me and Kevin work together, and we've all been friends for, like I said,
very long time.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
all of us. Me and Kevin a little bit longer than more.
Yeah.
Me and Kevin have been in these type of situations before when we're trying to start a project. I'm not in any type of competition with anybody else in any of the group. I'll roll with whatever's rolling, but I mean, I'm not competing for any specific position.
Right.
And that's what it came down to, is the way that, at least that's how I felt. You know, Frank was kind of, you know, I'm absolutely not trying to point a finger either, because like everybody has their own ideas and they want to do things a certain way, and that's fine. I mean, everything's still, was and still developing, and I'm not really, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. At the end of the day, like, me and Kevin work together. The beef ain't worth the job, my livelihood, and the beef ain't worth a 10-year friendship over something that's stupid, that you're gonna drag to the grave because for X, Y, and Z reasons. Like, let's move on. And when it's time to move on, you got to move on. And that's basically what I did. I mean, and it wasn't necessarily anything. It was, like you said, it was more so for personal reasons than it was
Yeah, I mean, every now and then shit like that's gonna happen, and I respect your decision.
It wasn't anything that anybody did specifically. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, it's more along the lines that I've been in these type of situations before, and it ain't worth it. I'm just gonna move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta grow, and I want to grow with it. Everybody else in the group.
Yeah.
But this point in time, there's other things that are just more important to me than,
And that shit happens. You know what I mean? It just, I think that the way that I felt about it, because it was so like left field, I'm just like, I thought we all had like the understanding, and I thought we all wanted to, like I said earlier, being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we could all take this opportunity to grow and really push our limits as a group and as friends. I really thought that we had that. And then when you're just, like, you could tell by the past, the first few episodes that we did, is that each time you were like a little bit less inclined. I could tell that you were like slowly losing interest. And I tried to retain that interest from everybody.
Well, I mean,
it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just felt that we were on that level, and then we were like, it's not, not really working. I'm just like, fuck, like, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, so it was more disappointment, but then I also felt like, no, it's because some of it was also selfish on my half too. Because,
well, I mean, it was selfish, and and you can say the same thing about my decision. I mean, we kind of started. You were right. We started all this on a mutual understanding.
Yeah,
and not even a month later, I'm like, I can't do this right now.
Right.
I can't make the commitment that you're looking for out of me, because I have so many other things going on that need that same commitment that I want to give, everyone in the group, and then the project, and also the things in my personal life. I mean, this kind of goes back to like that whole society sets a standard, and you kind of have to, and success, you got to grow and become who you are.
Yeah.
And everyone has something that they're working on, whether or not it's following through with commitments or procrastination. There's so many other things, worrying about everything all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
being conceited in retrospect. Whatever,
there's a
the
bunch
flaws,
of different variables.
yeah,
that kinda take into
whatever
effect of it.
flaws that personally that you need to work on, and work on them.
Right.
And that's basically what I've been doing.
In the meantime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I took it, like I said, I thought about it a little bit more selfishly, in the essence that, yes, like I did take full control of this podcast, and because
it's
I felt like I failed. I felt like I failed because I couldn't keep it all together. I felt that if I couldn't maintain us 4 people doing this and in the direction that we were going, and I mean, more than others, like how much I put into this.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why, like, I apologize that I made you feel that way, as if you failed, because, I mean, if you remember my last text message, I mean, specifically in the group, was you guys are going to succeed at this. I'm confident in saying that you guys can make something out of this, and you alone putting in the amount of effort that you put into it, whether anybody else is here or anybody else is in the group, you are going to succeed in it. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, one, you know how to, finance yourself. 2, you know how to structure a business. 3, I mean, you know how to promote and sell yourself to other people. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I just
like there's no other way around it. I mean, your talent and the way that you handle your business is, not many people are like that. You put yourself around like-minded people that have that same motivation, that same type of style, hustle or motivation. You will succeed in this type of business, or any type of business that you feel as though, you're confident, or even like from a marketing aspect. If you really applied it's the same thing with Kevin. He gets overly obsessed about certain things.
About everything.
But at some point he finds a way to do it, and to do it good.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand, same thing. You don't obsess over it.
Right.
But you apply the same aspects to everything in your daily life, to where it's just from like a producer aspect. You got that locked down without a doubt. I mean, I have no problem with you being a ringleader.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you are a leader. You lead very well. You lead by example. That's always been one of my biggest
I just wanted to take you guys along for the ride, you know what I mean?
Well, right on. I mean, I like to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not in that type of position, but at some point, you got to stop making excuses, and you have to lead by example.
Right.
If you don't lead by example, then no one else, 3, 2, 4 people, a small army, a family,
for sure,
they're not going to fall in line.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. I mean, and even like regardless of how things did work out, I just I just wanted to understand a little bit more in depth. We haven't really had a chance to actually discuss it, and like regardless of how things worked out, like I'm happy that, like we're still boys. I love the fact that you still agreed to come and hang out and talk on here. You know what I mean? Like, I think everything happens for a reason. And regardless of what you may think that reason is, you know what I mean? Like, you have to respect other people's decisions. And then you have to just find a way not to look at it like selfishly, or not to make excuses, or not to, just point the finger at people. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
If you work out all of that stuff and just accept things for what they are, I'm still happy with how things are. I love that, you're not part of our podcasts and stuff like that, but I love that I could still text you, and it's like we just pick up where we left off.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
absolutely. I mean, so I'd probably be on the game a whole lot more with you guys. Likely still.
Unfortunately, I haven't played in like a month.
Yeah, well,
those two are on all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, but see, that's how this all kind of started. I mean,
it started with an idea.
Yeah, from them two playing on the game together, or used three playing Call of Duty with each other. But the friendship and everything else was already there, years ago, which makes everything else so gravy. It gels really well because at the end of the day, we all kind of sit down at the table together. The only difference is we don't have a TV or a console in front of us.
No, yeah. No, it's true.
We
all flow really well. And, I always felt that some of our conversations, I liked our group because we touch kind of on like every aspect. If you were to break us down as people individually, you think that like I could be on the far extreme of topics and discussions on this, and then Kev could be sometimes on the complete opposite, and then like you and Frank would fall in the middle, and like we just have like a
good dynamic,
generic dynamic shift that happens between all four of us, and I just felt like that could be something that people could enjoy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Generic? I wouldn't say generic. Very, very natural.
Yeah,
a little bit. It's a little bit more natural.
Yeah, I like natural better than generic. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond just natural. It has the potential to be something that could be heard on Sirius XM. I mean, Frank has a good voice for it. You have a good voice for it. I mean, these are all things. Yeah, these are all things that I was thinking about, and then Kevin too. He has his own. He has his own way about how he useless knowledge sometimes in the sense
he really
of
does, dude.
Yeah, dude, because
really
because he obsesses over different things. To the extreme that like he just retains this information. I mean, I remember when he first picked up a guitar, he didn't really know anything, and just not only from our boy Joe and Pat that we were in a band together with, he was our drummer, and then he picked up his sister's guitar, and then he ended up getting a guitar, and it wasn't till that he learned how to play on his sister's guitar and like obsessed over it, and he got nearly as good as Joe was.
Yeah.
And he was way better at it than I was. I suck at guitar. I mean, I only played power chords. It wasn't until somebody taught me how to play bass that I really started picking up on chords and everything.
Right.
I don't remember how to play bass, but I'm sure if somebody, brushed over the minor basics of it, I'd pick it up again.
Well, I have 6 in this fucking very room, so
yeah, I mean, I'm down.
Yeah,
but that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
The point that I'm trying to get at is like there's potential at this table every time you three sit at the table. And touching back on what I was saying before, like you three alone, that's all you really need. I mean, like having the fourth man in everything, I can see it. I mean, I still want to be a part of it.
Right.
But you three alone had shit covered, and to want to pour as much commitment into it as you have,
that's tough.
I can't, and I want to.
Right.
But like you said, you felt disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to disappoint the group, so I nipped it in the butt.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And left everything where it was.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, even that, like...
I mean, it sucks.
I don't even expect the full commitment from them two, because I know that...
Well, they committed to it like this, man. Like,
yeah, but they'll never match mine.
Oh, well, no.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm the type of person, too, no one will outwork me in a sense that I want something. You know what I mean? And I don't really expect that from others. I always expect if someone could meet half of my expectations,
meet me in the middle.
Then it's good enough.
Meet me in the middle.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, like regardless of the fact, though, I'm happy with how things are going. I'm happy how things are going with you. You've had quite a few changes. I mean, you've had to deal with a lot of bullshit. That's the reason for you leaving. And now, right now, you seem to be doing good, right? Like everything's chilling,
I'm kind
what you got going on?
I'm in between periods right now.
Okay.
I mean,
we all go through that shit, dude. We all have that stale period where it's a transition.
Yeah, and that's
it's a learning experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going through right now with, my home life. And I don't necessarily want to bring that to the table every week.
Right.
I was trying to explain to my, my significant other that, like, yeah, at first, and the commitment that everyone's bringing to the table,
you just don't feel like you could match it at that time.
In the beginning, it's going to be like a 9 and 5 kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just because we're getting everything started. It wasn't going to be that way all of the time.
Correct. At least for who else is involved. Me, it's a different story. But
right.
That's just me, though. Like I said, because if I want something and I'm going to go balls deep for it, no one will outwork me. No one will outthink me. No one will get in my way. Right. If I want something, it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
that might be a trait that
yeah.
Not many
well,
people
yeah.
have,
well, no, that's
but it's also never
that's
expected of other people because I know that I could be an absolute psycho when it comes to that stuff.
I mean, you could still call that very much an obsession as well.
Yeah.
Which is okay, but you have it in the sense of a healthy trait. I mean, because you have it developed in the sense of where everything later down the line it's significant and works for you, instead of it just being kind of useless and for what?
Right.
For an excuse, you can you can use that in a different way to where you're benefit from it and growing instead of it like backfiring. And a lot of people do that same thing as well, to where they obsess over certain things to where they obsess to it to a default.
Yeah, it's just oversaturation of whether it be like your thought process or what you actually give into it, and you kind of overwork it, you overkill it. So yeah, a lot of people do kind of fall into that,
Well, they obsess into unhealthy aspects of, the goals that they're trying to achieve, to where it's, they fall into like insecurity or worrying or uncertainty or fear or
it makes sense.
Failure. You got to not be afraid to fail at something. That's the only way that you succeed, because at least you're trying. You learned there's 1,000,001 ways to do something, and there's 1,000,001 ways to fail, but there's 1,000,001 ways to succeed as well.
Yeah. No, that's very true. There's always that equal and opposite force. You always have that, and it's just a matter of if you're willing to take the risks and put in the time and the effort, and then be willing to fail, be willing to try and to take one on the chin, stand back up, and go again.
And every now and then you gotta kind of like you said, take it on the chin, or admit when you're wrong, or admit that you failed at something.
Right.
And that, I mean, they say your best apology is change behavior.
Yeah. True.
I mean, I tell that to everyone, like everyone that I'm close with, like everyone that I love, because if you were really sorry, you wouldn't do that shit again.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to accept that.
Otherwise, it's an excuse.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've never really been big on excuses. Maybe like growing up, you don't really realize how things should be. And then when you start to think of what kind of person you want to be, and I just always felt there's no sense in making excuses because what are they good for? The stupid quote that I always love is excuses are like assholes.
Yeah,
we all have them and they all stink.
Yep.
I mean, sure, I'll put Kev on blast too. Kev has every excuse known to man, and he knows it, and I call him out on it all the time. But that's just his first instinct is to think of an excuse, and then I feel like it's important to call that excuse out and say, "No, motherfucker."
Yeah, well,
this
sometimes
is this, this is that.
He takes it on the chin with you, but when I
you-
call him
when
out
you
on
do
it, he
it.
fucking hates it, dude.
Well, I'm also like, I hold. It's very weird. I hold my close friends and family to the same standard that I hold myself. Now, sometimes that could be dangerous because I hold high standards for myself in what I think, if I feel something that day, then I hold it to that. What I do, what I'm involved in.
Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. I mean, you're way more stern when it comes to different things, and you hold your patience to a limit, and once that limit's reached, that's it.
It's done.
Yeah,
and then I have to voice my opinion, and here's the reasons why you're fucking up or slacking off or making excuses, and I don't want to hear it. And the big thing, it's not me just like wanting to be a dick and call people out on their bullshit, but like I said, close friends of mine and close family members, I hold them to a standard that's generally higher than the standard that they hold for themselves. Because like I said, I hold myself to a higher standard than probably you guys would even think about.
No,
sometimes I fail at that. Most times I fail at that, but it's the essence of knowing that's how I am and I stride for it. And I expect my close friends to have that for themselves. One, to better themselves and to recognize that they could be more than what they feel like they're.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
So-
I've always done that. So like a lot of people like Kevin was kind of there. I mean, from what I can imagine what Kevin has told to you, like I come from hanging out on the block. Like most of my friends were high school dropouts.
Yeah.
But I always pushed everyone that I was close to that was on the block to a better standard.
Right.
Like that same thing that that
it takes on like a certain responsibility.
Exactly. I mean, it's more in the sense of like it basically the same thing that you were just saying. I always told them, like growing up with those guys, change isn't just going to happen. Because I mean, I learned it at an early age. Change is always happening. But if you want to see change, you gotta be the change that you want to see.
You have to have the ability to adapt.
Yes.
And you have to have the understanding that you need to make certain choices to enable that to happen.
And it took me a long time to kind of get to a point to where it was like, I have to practice what I preach.
Yeah.
And apply those same principles. Much like you were saying about holding yourself to that standard. And being that example.
Yeah. For sure.
To turn your life around. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, life takes everyone on fucking weird journeys and weird ways. And yeah, it's a lot of it's just accepting where you came from, what you want to be, and then how the fuck do you get there from point A to point B. And you need to fill in the gaps. And you go through shit, and it is what it is. But yeah, I feel like it's important to not make excuses, hold yourself accountable, hold yourself to a standard, and maybe surround yourself with people who may hold you to a higher standard to, further benefit yourself to help you get from point A to point B.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of where things have been. And you just got to keep that shit going. Like I said, I mean, regardless of how things worked out, I love that I could still hit you up and you can still come here and do this shit with me.
Yeah,
I mean, really appreciate it.
I would. There was like 2 episodes that I saw you guys do, and I was like, damn. I didn't even get an invite. Like, fuck. I would have loved to done that shit.
Yes.
That would have been a fucking fun night. And you're talking about guest spots, having people over, and fucking. Not once did I get a text message. Not once did fucking Kevin bring this shit up.
Yeah. Some of our guest spots, like I will say, like we have to plan that shit out because there's a lot more editing involved, and as you know, like I do all of it. I do everything, and that's I don't want to seem like I'm discrediting, Kevin Frank. That's not what I'm trying to do. But from an editing standpoint, like, dude, it's a lot more. And I'm like, yeah, we got to cut down our guest spots a little bit.
And I think for me to be on the show or be back on the show,
right?
I don't have necessarily all that stuff. Like I don't have a computer to really edit, and then to bounce around from everything else. With everything else going on in my personal life, I don't have the time right now to really sit down and do that. However,
no, I'd rather you be
these
upfront with that,
the last couple months. I mean, I've been working on trying to get in a position to where I can free up my time.
Okay.
To give the show that commitment. Like I was, briefly telling you before, I'm been trying to work out ways to where, I can
just make that available.
Just be available to be here.
Right.
And I'm getting a little closer. I think once certain things are kind of more settled, I can do that. One of the things I kind of feel like, I don't know. It was like that one episode where we were sitting there and, we were kind of just spitballing, riffing,
right.
we had a mock session, and
I love that mock session, by the way.
Well, there was
probably never going to be released.
Yeah, well, there was a couple. Yeah, well, there was a couple of them, but regardless of the point, they went really well. And in those sessions, I kind of found a way to contribute.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like Kevin took over that position, like that. The following week, he was like, "Oh, I got everything."
Oh, okay.
And then that following week, it was like, "All right, you guys already have other shit already."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
some
then
of that might
be
me.
Kind of got to a point to where it was like,
yeah,
okay, well, I'm just kind of here. But it wasn't even just that. It was also the other personal shit that was going on too, to where it was like, I'm not really in the mood to talk. I don't really talk to people. I mean, shit, there's been times where I've strongly committed to, like, or have thought about strongly committing to learning sign language. I mean, I still
to avoid the confrontation of talking to people.
Yeah. Like,
damn.
dude, like I hate it. And
I'll learn that shit with you, because that'd be kind of cool.
I mean, damn, I actually I started following, a bad sign languager, not a bad, but like, sign languager.
Sign languager.
Yeah. I don't even know.
I forget their term. I don't fucking use it, so I don't know. Anyway, she like teaches her TikToker, whoever follows her on TikTok, like her clips it's really smart. She has, she found a way to develop a small following. Okay.
Her TikToks are like maybe not even a minute long, and she teaches everyone how to like curse in sign language, which is fucking
fucking great.
It's hilarious because it's like one after another of like calling people like a fucking asshole, or like the one that really stuck out the most with me to me was like she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to say you are a fucking twat waffle.
Okay. There's a sign for that?
In sign language.
Oh, my God.
Bro.
That's amazing.
You fucking
Okay.
twat waffle.
So that's twat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna start just walking around everybody.
I think it was like this, or there was a certain way she did it with her hand, but I think it was like this. Yeah, and it was hilarious. Like, I found that so, like, me and Kevin call each other twat waffles all the time. So once I heard twat waffle, I was like, I gotta remember this.
This shit's important.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing. But no, I mean, I've never thought anything to that extreme, although it does sound like it'd be something fun to do, you know, but I'm very introverted myself. Like I said, I'm pushing the boundary by being on camera and microphones and broadcasting myself out there. That's very uncomfortable for me, but I wanted to take it on as a personal, like, challenge.
Word.
You know what I mean?
Word. And, you know, that's good. I mean, for me, I've always been the person behind the camera. So, like, for me to, you know, it's like, I could either talk your ear off about random shit.
Yeah.
Or say nothing at all.
Yeah.
Especially it's different being in, you know, a one-on-one conversation or in a group conversation, but, like, I just sit there and listen.
And just observe.
Yeah.
Just kind of, yeah. I mean, I often do that.
I mean, this is different. It's kind of hard to explain. I mean, like, once, like, for example, him, like, that one week where okay. I mean, I wasn't necessarily prepared for something specific for tonight, but you got everything handled from that aspect. All right, you got that. I mean, I kind of felt as though it, you know, when you assigned everybody kind of positions of, like, them two work on this, me and you are going to work on this.
Right.
I felt like there was some type of jealousy from Kevin, and he tells me all the time, like, how he's jealous about X, Y, and Z, and it's like I hate when he does that, because it's like there's no need to be.
No, there's no need for it at all.
Like, I'm not trying to compete with you or like bring you down. Like, you're, like, in retrospect, like, you're bringing yourself down
by having
these thoughts, and like, I do it to myself too. Like, not necessarily in the sense of, like, him being jealous. It could be whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm doing the same thing. I don't know exactly how he's feeling about a certain situation. I try to talk to him. I mean, we used to vent to each other about almost nearly everything.
Yeah.
And this is what I was talking to you about before. And it's like gotten to a point to where it's like,
it's oversaturated. It's overdone. It's too much. And it's like, okay, well, the fuck's the point? There's nothing else that it is what it is at that point. Right.
Right.
You know?
Right.
No, I feel that.
I love him to death. Like, I'm, you know, I'd hope that both, you know, me and him, you know, look at each other and feel the same way about each other as being, like, him being an older brother to me and me being a younger brother to him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it gets to a point to where it's like, all right, you know, like, and then now we're working together. Yeah. I mean, Frank has always been Frank, you know, and then he, you know, he's been in the picture and around the time that before me and him rekindled our friendship.
Because
so
you and Kev have been the friends the longest out of the entire group.
Right.
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 And like when I was brought into it, I met Kev. This is back in like maybe high school days.
Yeah, well, this is around the time. This is a lot of around the time where me and him weren't talking.
Yeah.
And I was out on the block.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Being a fucking knucklehead.
Yeah. And then Frank kind of just like dwindles into the group when him and Kev are working together. So I met Frank through Kev. I forget who I met first, you or Kev.
No, honestly, I'm pretty sure.
It could have been honestly probably around the same time. Probably when you got together with him It was probably shortly after, because I used to hang out in Frankfurt as a kid. We'd go to Whitehall Skate Park. We'd hang out. We also played music. I mean, granted, I knew Matt,
John,
Mike,
yeah,
John,
yeah. Well, and that's where
Hope,
kind of
Chris. Like, I was friends with them too.
Yeah, exactly. So I was friends with him as well, but I wasn't with him all the time like Kevin was.
Right.
And there's an age difference there, and
right.
There's that age difference there, to where that's where you kind of came into the picture. Plus that whole thing, that falling out that we had, and it wasn't until after the accident with John, that we kind of started to try and rekindle
it.
Yeah, and he, and then he met his baby mom around that same time. So
Death does that, man. It brings people together. I mean, when that shit happens, and you try to find comfort in familiarity, and I mean, it's kind of the time, because I think honestly that might be the time where me and Kev started getting back in touch too.
Possibly,
because I remember going to the crash site of where John died. And I went with Kev, and we went every month, and we did that for a couple months because it struck us both. I mean, you're 20 years old or whatever, however long it's been. I actually forget. Like, that's how fucked up it is.
But that's how that's also how long ago it was.
Yeah, and I think that's when we kind of like restarted our communication and stuff like that, because like, life happens. Things fall off. You go your way, they go theirs, and it is what it is. I mean, but like having, like, understanding the little moments that you have and take them as opportunities to get back in the flow and build your relationships that were once fallen off.
Right. And so this is where I kind of get annoyed with him sometimes. It's like, I've never worked with him before. I didn't go to school with him. I knew him from the neighborhood, and ironically enough, he went to school with a couple of my neighbors that I was friend with around my way. So working with him now has gotten to a point to where it's like, this is probably what it would be like if we went to high school together. And then number two, there's times where it's like, all right, well, if you're going to tell everybody that, you love me like a brother,
right,
then love me like a
then
brother.
Fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but then there's also, it gets to the point where it's just a fucking job.
Yeah. It's difficult to work with friends, especially when your friends are as close as family. Then it's a little bit more difficult, I feel. I say it to Kev all the time. Like, I would love if he would just fucking leave there, come work with me, and do his thing. But then I'm like, fuck that. I don't think that would be good. I think it would be too much time together. And I feel like it would kind of cross the boundaries of the next time you would speak, you'd be like, yo, how are things? If you know that every day, that's what you did.
It's so weird.
It dilutes the relationship.
Yeah, and then you have the annoying, like, I try to tell people, like, all the time, like, work is work, and it's not meant to be taken personally. This is something that I'm working on, but then they turn around and point the finger at me, like, no, you're just taking it personally. I was like, well, if I was, I wouldn't have that attitude.
Right.
I'm consciously aware. And then when you're, consciously aware of certain things, it makes things more complicated. And it also, like you said, it dilutes the relationship, because then you're carrying, like, that animosity. If I'm using that word correctly,
animosity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
Either way, you carry that, like, slight resentment.
Yeah.
Throughout the day, and like you said, when you see that person later, it's like, well, fuck.
Here you are again.
Yeah.
Bitch. It's just the way it goes.
I mean,
yeah.
Fucking twat waffle.
Yeah, I mean, it's
annoying, because it comes down to a point where it's like, it really wasn't meant to be that deep, but, like, I've known Kev for so long to where it's like, when he gets upset, it gets me upset.
Right.
And then it's like, I get more agitated fact that he's so angry about something to where it's, in some cases, it's kind of insignificant.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I feel about it. And he's loving that idea wholeheartedly to where it gets him angry. And it's like, there's no reason to be that angry.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. You run across this type of shit every now and then. You know what I mean? Like, you have your boys, and then you grow the relationship, and you're like, oh, well, then you're more than boys. You know what I mean? Like, you become more like a family.
And that's
there's
exactly
something.
and that's exactly how I feel about the group.
Yeah.
You guys, to me, at the end of the day, are all like the older brothers that I never had. I mean, I have a big family on my dad's side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see much of my mom's side of the family.
Right.
And you three are the only other 3 fucking friends that you're my friends.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't see much of my family. Most of that's by choice. I'm a very introverted person as itself, so I like to stay away from everybody for as long as possible. That's just how I function.
Yeah, I mean, I have a tendency to isolate, but it gets to a point to where.
Yeah, but I have to have some sort of close group that I can always attach to every now and then, and be like, okay, I'm going to detach myself from the situation for a bit. I mean, I could go months without speaking to anybody and be perfectly normal, perfectly fine. But it is nice always having like some sort of close group of friends that are like family in my back pocket. You know, if I'm going through something, or if I have an idea that I want to run by somebody, or fuck, I just want to go have a couple fucking drinks and sit, I could just easily reach my back pocket. You know what I mean? And then like you guys are there, and the fact that we can just pick up where we left off, like that's special.
Exactly, and that's also what makes the group so dynamic,
right,
and natural.
I think that works for us. I don't know if it works for everybody. I don't know. I mean, maybe people have someone like that.
I mean, I'd imagine so, but like, if you look at it, like different people on the radio, like what is it? You got I want to name drop, but 94.1. I think it's XP, WYXP.
I don't listen to radio. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar.
It's a sports show, talk show.
Okay.
And they have like a morning show every morning. Angelo, like all. Okay. This guy Angelo has been on the show for
fuck ton of years.
Yeah, many years, and he's retiring this year at the end of the Eagles season. But a lot of the guys that are on that show or in that specific show have been in the industry. Like, I can't remember all their names, but like they all have a role and a responsibility, and they all bring something to the show, and they've all been together for a really long time.
Right.
So like one of the announcers, I can't remember his name, but he does the Flyers games.
Okay.
So if Angelo retires, he's not gonna do the show anymore.
Yeah, that's gonna create some sort of dysfunction, because at that point, you're expecting to hear a familiar voice. You're expected to have that kind of energy within the room,
right?
That kind of chemistry between people, and
right?
That kind of goes away.
Right.
I mean, I kind of feel like that's kind of what happened to us a little bit, because, well, like when you dropped out of our show, it broke up the chemistry because, well, one, there was uncertainty for me. I can't speak for them, nor will I try. That's not my place. There was uncertainty for me of why you dropped out, because now we know, now we learn. But like I feel like that kind of fucked up our chemistry a little bit, because
I do apologize, and I was aware of that happening.
Yeah.
But I also felt as though my role was so insignificant.
No, I
But
wouldn't say that.
I know
I
it
think you
also
were
played.
wrong with that.
I could have
You know what
been.
I mean?
I could have been. I likely very much am. But it's called Quadacity. You know,
Yeah.
it was a show meant for 4 people. Now there's only 3.
Yeah, well, which is weird, and
Like,
we decided to stick with it and roll with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We've actually never even spoken, meaning Frank and Kev, really much about you leaving and how it might affect the dynamic of having that missing chemistry of having a fourth. We haven't really dived into that much. Maybe one day we will. Who knows? I mean, it's like it's not really that important to kind of go down that path again and to revisit it. But for me, like I said, I can't speak for them. For me, I felt like I needed to know, I needed something just to kind of clear the air, know where you stood, because, like, regardless, I respected your decision and I just wanted to know more about it to kind of ease me into it, because, I mean, it hasn't really affected like our chemistry as far as how our conversations flow and how our workflow is, pushed out. But there is always something in me that I'm like, fuck, like, we have an empty chair and an empty mic every week for the most part. I'm like, you could be, you know what I mean? Like, I always felt that, you did add value to our relationship as friends. You did add value to our conversations and to things. And that's why I think that you're wrong in you feeling that your presence was insignificant. I look at it on a standpoint where I failed to give you that sense of significance. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is what it is.
I mean,
but I feel like if I would have tried maybe a little bit harder for you to see that you are, a role in Quadacity, fucking 4 dudes drinking and fucking having audacious conversations in my basement. I feel like if I would have pushed the limit a little bit further for you to understand that, like, no, you do have a role, and we all love that role, then maybe things could have been different.
Well, I knew I had a role. I didn't exactly understand specifically what that role was.
Entailed.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, maybe that's something that we could always fucking revisit later.
I mean,
and
I mean, at the same time, like I was kind of explaining before, when we kind of went down certain things, like the stuff that as far as the responsibilities that you were giving everybody in the our little, our work page.
Right.
A lot of it had something to do with a lot of those same responsibilities that I had kind of involved you as well.
Mm-hmm.
To where it was kind of like I kind of felt as though is that you had already
What?
Under control. I mean, I felt as though you kind of already were like, all right, I'm giving him these listed tasks that, well, I'm likely going to do them anyway.
Unfortunately, yeah,
but
I was kind of like that.
Yeah.
I could be overbearing in that essence. I get super...
Which was kind of like, all right, but I'm going to do them anyway.
Yeah.
And it was like more along the lines of like, I generally wanted to do them together with you. And then it was kind of like where I kind of felt like maybe Kev felt some type of way, to where it was like I was spending more time with you. And,
okay.
you know what I mean? And it was kind of like...
Yeah, because unfortunately, I did that same thing to Frank, because when I gave everybody assigned roles and duties and stuff like that, I told Frank straight up, I gave him the duty of creating the website. And I was like, no, like, you have an IT background. Why don't you handle the website, get all that shit squared away? And then I gave, Kev a bunch of things, me a bunch of things, yada, yada, yada. And then one day I was sitting down. I think I finished editing an episode, and I got done like retarded quick. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, what else can I look into? So I went to tap into Kev's stuff, and I was like, all right, he hasn't done anything of it yet. Fucking asshole. And then I tapped into Frank's stuff.
Yeah,
so
well,
I tapped into his list.
Yeah, well, that was mine was. I mean, there was like realistically like only 3 things that I was like, all right, I could do that. I could do this. What the fuck am I supposed to do with the rest of the list?
Yeah, and like I would take it upon myself, and like, I would go around like I self-audit myself. You know what I mean? And when I'm done with that, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna look into individually. I'm gonna look at your list, see if you completed anything. Look in the Kevs, look in the Franks. And I got to Frank's, and I checked on the website, and I was like, oh, cool, like, he started it. And then I just fell into the rabbit hole, and I was like, oh, well, you know what? Like, I think this will look better. So I changed one thing. And I'm like, oh, well, fuck, if I change that, maybe I can change this. And then change this and do this. And then I just fucking fell into it for 6 hours. And before you know it, like, the entire website was done. And changed and different. And I was torn because I'm like, cool, like, great, it's done. And then I was like, fuck, like I told Frank to do it. And I completely overrid him without even question. So I did apologize to him, like, listen, dude, I'm so sorry that like I just like took over like your little project that you were working on. I just do that sometimes. And like I said, that I have to learn how to deal with.
Well, my problem was I was kind of okay with you doing that. The only difference was I would have liked to done some of those things specifically together. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was no other way for me to do them anyway.
Yeah.
Than to
we would have to be we'd have to be together with it, and that's at my own demise. I have to learn how to trust people, and like I said, like there's many things that go on in this show that like
I get it.
I'm pushing the boundary because one, I'm doing something that I'm very uncomfortable with. I hate cameras. You'll rarely see pictures of me. I hate social media. I don't post anything. I don't like talking to people. I'm literally talking to everybody. This is very out of my range. And like when I go to have that like trust with certain people as to what I'm going to expect from them, or are they going to do it right?
Yeah,
like, these are all things that I have to work on myself.
I get that because you're creating something for the public.
Right.
To see, and it has to be to a standard that
because
you feel comfortable with.
Standard, and I want everybody to hold themselves to a higher standard, which I know that they don't, and for the most part, they never will. You know what I mean? Like I it's weird because I understand that. I understand that you will never hold yourself to the standard that I hold you to, but that's also fucked up on me because like I'm subconsciously holding you to something that you don't want. You don't know.
I'm set up to fail, which goes beyond just like anything else. You know, like it goes into everyone's personal lives. In retrospect, just growing up and either being a parent or a child or a spouse.
I think that does play a role in it.
And it
certainly.
It gets to a point that you have to be consciously aware. Not everyone's consciously aware. If people were more consciously aware, that'd be, it would be a perfect world, but even then,
exactly.
Nothing in this world is perfect.
No, and it's never going to be.
No, it's not.
So you have to recognize your flaws, recognize your failures, recognize and take on like the small wins and the small losses that you may have and battle through and figure out, okay, cool, well, how can I move forward from that? And I feel like we've done that as friends. I feel like we've done that as a show, so as long as we keep continuing to push the envelope a bit and to keep doing that, I feel like we are heading in the right direction.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, you guys, it's going to develop itself at a certain point, and it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep doing it. At some point, I can see it like being on Apple Podcasts or being on XM.
Yeah, we are on Apple.
Yeah,
On
so
Apple, Google, Spotify, the whole bunch. But yeah, I mean, no, I completely
I mean,
feel like how you're going with that. Yeah.
XM, like there's a lot of things that go into how these shows are produced. I mean, on a much higher level. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have Howard Stern, and like he's got a movie out. I mean, if you have followed Howard Stern from being on like regular radio,
he changed radio.
Yeah, and he went to XM because of the stuff that he was doing. He revolutionized talk show radio.
And then Joe Rogan's doing the same thing now. You know what I mean? Like Howard Stern did that years ago. He revolutionized it. Now our new era of that would be like Joe Rogan and his podcast. He's always pushing the limits. He's probably the top grossing podcast out there. And it's how you build your relationships with people, whether they may be strong or weak relationships. I mean, there's still a conversation to be had. There's still an experience and a bond to have with somebody. And I feel like as long as you're pushing those limits and finding those people to kind of connect with, you know what I mean? Like it can only go on from there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, that is going to wrap this episode up. I really appreciate you coming in, dude. I love the fact that you did. We pick up where we left off. I'm hoping that we can do more with you. You just got to let me know.
Absolutely. I mean,
let me know what your schedule portrays, and then we'll work it out.
This weekend kind of fell in my lap. Like I was saying before, with as far as availability, I'm kind of hoping that there's going to be more time as such.
Mm-hmm.
I plan on making like a complete comeback.
Okay.
It was never really a dropout or a dismissal, as you said.
Yeah. You're fired.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, I fucking fired myself. I resigned.
Yeah.
But I apologize in the way and how sudden everything was.
Well, hopefully we could take this moment to.
But it was never. I never felt like it was something that permanent.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we could take this moment to, one, we recognize it. Hopefully we can fucking grow from it, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Have you fucking swing on by, do our fucking thing, and we'll kind of go from there.
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for listening to the episode, guys. Keep an eye out for the next one. This is Dicking Around with DeVito. I'm here with Nick.
Yup.
Deuces.
Later.